Welcome to the Infinite Life with Katische and Paul. I'm a quantum soul therapist, and I'd like to take you on a transformative journey exploring the mysteries of the soul, past lives, and infinite existence. Through over 60 regression case studies, mediumship interviews, and fascinating discussions with interesting human beings, uncover what it means to be a human facing duality on Earth whilst embracing the true nature of reality, non-duality, and unconditional love. Welcome back to the Infinite Life with Katische and Paul. I'm your host, and this week we have a wonderful guest coming to you from America, and his name is Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes is a duly ordained minister and metaphysician, first through the Institute of Metaphysical Humanistic Science and then through the priesthood of the Order of Melchizedek. With almost 30 years of academic studies and research, he received his PhD in Metaphysical Science, summa cum laude, and ordination in the spring of 2014 under the authority of the Institute of Metaphysical Humanistic Science of Florida, Sarasota. While in his doctorate studies, Paul founded and headed the Claremont Paranormal and Metaphysical Research Society, a noetic science coalition and network of diverse scientific disciplines. Paul's mission being the scientific research for the advancement of further knowledge of consciousness, the human condition, paranormal and anomalous phenomena, has gained attention with the spiritualist and scientific communities as a revolutionary in his investigative approach in the field. Reverend Dr. Meckes is the founder, host, and producer of the Conscious Radio Network, LLC, that broadcasts a weekly podcast series which examines a wide range of scientific research on consciousness, spirituality, earth mysteries, anomalous phenomena, and the ever-changing factors of the human condition. In 2023, Reverend Dr. Meckes was nominated into the Marquis Who's Who in America inclusion, in which is limited to individuals who possess a professional integrity, demonstrate outstanding achievement in their respective fields, and have made innumerable contributions to society as a whole. Now, I wanted to invite you along today because I've had a season so far examining spiritual awakenings, and in particular, we've been focusing on what midlife throws at us, whether we define midlife as our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and how we can, for women, we look at hormonal changes and how that can bring out extrasensory perception. It can a different understanding of where you are. But for most people, it's a lot of the, holy heck, am I actually halfway through life? Or am I starting to question mortality? What have I done? What's my legacy? What am I doing here? Have I done anything right? All of those big questions come out. And after everyone has just listened to your profile, what I wanted to ask you was, what has your experience been? Have you always been on the spiritual path since birth, or did you have an experience in your teens or your midlife, as we call it, that has led you down the path to where you are today?
I feel that everybody has a midlife crisis at some point, somewhere. As far as my spiritual journey, though, I believe it started before birth.
Okay.
There's a lot of things I experienced growing up that I couldn't explain, a connection with spirit. I grew up as the only child. I had no direct siblings. I would have had a sister, but she died long during birth. It was, yeah. And so I figure, okay. And then I had some stepbrothers and stepsisters and stuff, but they have actually passed since then.
Okay.
And when you start, I think when you start to look at certain things that happen in your life, even before you can even remember, you got to step back and take a look at these things, these events that have happened that you obviously have no control over, piece things together and make a puzzle out of it. And you start to realize maybe this is some sort of a divine purpose. Maybe there is some sort of connection. Was I meant to be alone? Was I meant to be the lone wolf in this lifetime and take this life by the reins by myself and fight this war myself?
Okay.
And growing up, seeing and experiencing the paranormal, the spiritual, it didn't really happen. It didn't sink in until uh, my first and last divorce.
Okay.
And I started to realize, wow, there is some purpose here. There's something I've got to do. And I started reaching out to a lot of my friends that were spiritualists, practitioners in all different faiths, from shamans to preachers. Even my stepbrother, who had passed many years ago, he was a Catholic preacher. And then with asking all my friends that were in the shamanic spiritual practices, and I think this is I had a calling. I had some sort of calling. It was like I need to get connected. I needed to get grounded and connected to this ultra world, this ultra part of the universe that I have felt my entire life. I just didn't. I wanted to understand it, and I don't know if that was a midlife crisis speak, but it seemed like it. The divorce was everything that was going on was just. It was more of a confusion. Who am
Mm-hmm.
I? What am I? Where am I? And then it became a path, a journey from then to now, and it never stops. It never stops. When you open up any type of door, you better be ready,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're working with spirit and you're working with the divine. You then start to realize, yes, this is a path. This is a direction that I am meant to go, because more doors start opening. Um, Working with spirit, I then started to actually, before that, I got into mediumship and started working with a lot of, I wouldn't say a council, but it's more of a school. They call it um, the modern spiritualist movements, which started back in the 1800s. But then it became really, really popular, especially it's popular more. It seems to be more popular today, especially worldwide. Now people are like, why seances or mediumship and sitting down and connecting with spirit and giving messages for people. Parts of the world, s- there's certain areas here in the United States where it's considered really taboo. Oh, that's the devil. You can't talk. This is work that Christ has done himself. Um, so I'm going in so many different directions. I'm actually staying on point.
Yeah, no, you're right. I wanted to ask you a question. With the divorce as the catalyst, because that was my catalyst as well.
Mm.
Why do you think that for some people, and in your experience, why do you think that was your catalyst? What about that opened you up to the it's now I'm going forth?
I think at that point when I felt that I had connected with somebody that I wanted to be with for the rest of my life, and it's more you're thinking that the universe is going, this is a failure. You failed at this. Something so simple. Something that you would think that is close to the heart and close to the soul and close to your being, that this thing failed. Why would the universe, if this is something that we're all social beings, why did this fail on me? Am I a failure? Is the universe a failure? Is God a failure for me? Is what's happening? When something that close to you, close to your heart, close to your being, close to who you feel you are, fails on you, you start to question everything.
Mm.
And even though that wasn't really a midlife, it's pretty close to it. Not quite 50 yet. I was like, okay, what's going on? That now you start to, then I started looking inward. What is happening? What is, really start analyzing the world, yourself, um, try to better yourself. And wasn't like there was something bad going on. And I started realizing, hey, it was the wrong time. We both did it for the wrong purposes,
Hmm.
and it wasn't the right time. And spirit, nah, just move on. You just accept it as it is. You guys were not. It was the wrong time. It wasn't the right time. I wouldn't say it was the wrong time, but it wasn't the right time. You have a mission. And when spirit's like, and even she even told me, you've got so much stuff going on. You have a mission. You have something that you have to really do, and I'm standing in the way.
Wow. Okay.
And I kept telling myself, you're not standing anywhere. I want to bring you with me.
Mm.
I want to bring you with me on this journey. But she wasn't ready for that as
Okay.
well. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So that was going to be my next question was, were you spiritual and were you a medium actively whilst you were married, or was that only in the opening afterwards?
Before and during.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were both doing some stuff together a little bit. We would pick up on certain things, and she would do this, I would do that. And she even has a history of extraterrestrial contact and has some stories, and I helped her along with some of the stuff that she was battling with when it came to the extraterrestrial aspect, getting 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 her into contact with the right people who can help guide her to find out what's really going on. What is this? But yeah. So,
And what is your strongest sense perception? Are you clairaudient, clairsentient, clairgustient? What's your strongest or most powerful sense that gives you your knowings?
depends on the situation. Most of the time it's claircognizance. There's
Okay,
a
yeah.
quick knowing. There's a really quick, like if someone's in meditation and you ask a question, you ask the universe and God the question, suddenly you get the answers. Oh, okay. And normally it's not the voice. I don't hear the voices. It's the knowing. It's the
Hmm.
feeling. Sometimes I'll hear, and a lot of times I'll see. If
Okay.
I'm doing messages, is I'll see these symbols. I'll see the person. I'll see the individual, or I'll see them trying to do certain things, give me symbols and stuff, and then I'll try to interpret it. Because I believe that's an important thing. Is a lot of spirits can communicate with a medium, but if the medium doesn't give you, if the medium doesn't give the spirit world the type of information, like, hey, this is the way I can pick up the information, deliver it this way. And I realized that if you're talking to spirit and trying to get information from them, it doesn't matter what language. It
Mm.
does not matter. They will give you the information in the best way possible for you to receive it and deliver it.
So with the opening of these skills, how did the professional side come in? What were you doing before as a career?
I've always been the engineer type,
Okay.
very analytical, very structural, very disciplined in the engineering aspect. So without giving out specific employer information, which I normally don't, but yeah, I work in the public sector and help with building, um, planning projects, construction projects, or projects with the local entertainment businesses and stuff like that, theme parks in general,
Okay, cool.
and keep the show going, so to speak. Just keep everything running, keep things moving forward, make people happy.
Okay.
Seems to be, as in general, people are like, what exactly is that? They're like, I keep the effects going, keep everything going, people happy. The show
Okay.
doesn't go, people ain't gonna be happy.
Right. Yeah. And describe to me this urge, this calling, this vision that you had something to do. How did that unfold for you? How did you follow the breadcrumbs or the clues to try and help you answer your own questions?
Believe me,
Or
some of
how
the
are you
questions,
doing it? How
yeah,
are you doing it still?
yeah, and some of the questions are still being answered,
Hmm.
and believe me, when they're not gonna give you the whole pie at one time.
No.
It definitely, and the universe isn't. You can keep asking, "What's the meaning of life?" And you're just gonna get trickles because if you knew all that all at one time, what's the point? Why would you be here? There's
Yep.
no point. It's the journey. And when I was going through my doctorate degree in metaphysics, I had started a paranormal group, Claremont Paranormal, here in outside of the Orlando, Central Florida area. And I was always interested in that. Who's not? Who's not interested in? I don't like to use the word ghost hunting, but paranormal investigation or anomalous research, because I was always interested with the engineering mind and the technical mind, always interested in the investigative aspect
Hmm.
and using all the toys, all the bells and whistles and stuff. That's fun at first, but then you start to realize that it's not as a medium, as an inherent medium. It's a why am I using this? All I got to do is speak to them, ask the right questions, and speak to them. You don't need lights to let them know they're there. They're
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep.
But I originally started the group as the case manager, so I had no choice. I had to go in and pull some, do the investigation, open up the cases, and do ask the questions, pull all the data, historical information from either the person or the property, and then I'd bring in mediums. That's where I started meeting a lot of the people, a lot of the, a lot of, I wouldn't say industry, that's a bad word. Industry, it's not really an industry, the field. So met a lot of people and really good scientists and investigators that had their own way of doing things. And then that the investigation aspect, the novice part of it, the using all the machines and stuff like that, it's fun. That went away for since then. And then I started getting into just the channeling,
Hmm.
getting into actually channeling spirit and consulting people and giving readings through the church I was with. Actually, this was, yeah, long before. That's about a year or so before the whole COVID thing happened. Joined a church, came in as uh, a student medium. Actually, I was a student medium on the books for about 10, almost 10 years, not quite, almost 10 years, knowing the
Why so long?
decorum. What's that?
Why so long?
I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know. Maybe it takes that long. I don't know. I stepped away from it a little bit. I didn't
Okay.
I didn't keep with the book work.
There's bookwork?
Yeah, it's a book. There's classes you got to go to. You got to actually meet up in person. You
Okay.
sit in a circle, and the Reverend will give a certain part of the class, giving some information on spiritualism and some of the historical aspects, and then we sit and then do a meditation, and then we do a reading, for somebody. You either pick a person in a circle to do a reading for, or just whatever you deliver. And then we closed the class with a meditation. And that was like a weekly thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I stepped away from the general paranormal investigation that people see on TV, all these, paranormal ghost hunting shows and stuff, and decided to take another direction and just work with people as a consultant, a spiritual consultant or a spiritual advisor. And during that process, I was told, Spirit said, you need to do a radio show. You need to do a radio show. You need to have your own radio show. I'm like, wow, okay. That's that's a big request to put on the table. And I'm like, all right. So back in 2014. Back in 2014, the end of that year when that happened, I don't remember when it came out. It was either a dream or kind of a day thing. When you hear it and that the energy comes in, it's do it, build it, and they will come. So I did it. There was a friend of mine, great friend of mine, that was also a parishioner in the church. He's worked in radio quite a bit, and real radio. He was a DJ, a producer with AM, FM radio. Can you help me with it? This is something that I got to do this. This is a mission. I got to do this. What do I do? Where do I start? This was before the whole podcast, before it turned into a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay, let's look. So we go to all the music stores and looking for this and looking for that, and a microphone and a mixer, and like trying to keep stuff simple. And almost, lack of a better word, it's more of a cliche, almost overnight, I launched what is now what people see as Conscious Radio Network. And every weekend we would do a 4-hour, that's a long time, a 4-hour audio radio show that was streamed through the website of Claremont Paranormal. And people would come in, and it was originally launched based off of, there was this big thing happening, this big paranormal conference that was happening, and all the big names in the paranormal investigation field were all involved. And from the Sci-Fi Channel and the History Channel, and one of the hosts of the program had gotten a hold of me, and she's like, hey, I want to bring you in on this. Would you be interested in doing some shows and able to start off your radio show? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So I had some of the individuals on these shows, on these normal television shows, in on our radio program, along with some local spiritualists and mediums and psychics that I normally work with to tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what launched it. And I kept the show going for about a year, just short of a year, because then I was called by my regular employer. I need you to go. Would you like to go and move to Shanghai, China, to work on a project? It's probably going to take about a year to do that. And I was like, at first I was like, I don't know. Things happened. I wouldn't say another midlife crisis, but things were going on with my mother, and her new friend that I wasn't so happy with, and it just things were just going in this weird direction. I'm like, oh man. I picked up my stuff, put it all in a storage facility, and off I went. Moved to China. Was there for about 7 months, 7, 8 months. But my friend couldn't continue the show. I wanted to keep the show going, but I couldn't host it anymore, or at least for that amount of time. He couldn't do it. So I'm like, I got to put a pause to this. I'll relaunch it when I get back to the States. And you think when you move to another country, you think that would be a midlife crisis. Be like, man, you are literally pulled out of the frying pan and thrown into the fire. What do you got? What can you do? You don't know anybody. Luckily, I did, the people that I work with normally. And that'll segue into probably the next part of the story, is when I mentioned that spirit will give you messages as a medium or a psychic, especially as a medium. If spirits know who you are. If you're a medium and you're sensitive, they know who you are. They know that you're a sensitive. They know that you are a channel between this side and their side. And I had received an unsolicited contact message from an old Chinese woman sitting in a restaurant. And we were all getting ready to leave the restaurant, and I'm sitting there at the end of the table, and suddenly I just get, basically, felt more like a channel. Suddenly got thrown into this altered state of consciousness, and I could see this old Chinese woman, long hair pulled off to the back, large glasses, and she's showing me this book, this big book, and she's opening the book, and she's all adamant about this, just pointing at these pages. And it almost felt like the time that was going by was like an eternity. Like I popped out of this time and kind of melded with her, with that energy through the veil. And I got back into consciousness, and a friend of mine that was sitting catty corner to me on my left, he's looking at me. He's, what just happened? Are you okay? And I told him, I was like, you're not going to believe what happened. And then I told him, he's like, yeah, to do it. He's like, do it. Basically, she was giving me a message to give to somebody there in the restaurant. And at first I was like, who is it? And then I asked her, and it was our server. And I'm like, how am I going to say this? Is granted, this is the first time I've ever had this type of message. Normally my messages are from the living to those who have passed, not the other way around. And now the decorum, there's a lot of do's and don'ts in mediumship. You just can't just give messages without permission. So I'm like, okay. So as everybody's paying their tab and stuff and paying their bill, she comes up to the table, and luckily she spoke fairly decent English. I introduced myself and told her what I did or what I can do. And I'm like, you understand? I have a message from Spirit I'd like to give to you. Would you like the message? And she nodded. She said, yeah. And stopped for a moment, and I mentioned, like, your grandmother's coming through, and she's telling me you need to go back to school. You need to stop what you're doing, and you need to go back to school. Because these messages, this book was data, was information, knowledge. Now, even though using that symbol that's the symbol of the book, that was inherently using the claircognizance. I knew that book represented school, information, go and get educated, go back, finish it up. And as I delivered that information, I she was like looking like, at first I didn't know how to. I was kinda like looking at her pantomimes to see if she was picking, knowing what I was understanding. And she seemed to be a little distraught, didn't know what to make of it. And she grabbed the rest of her tabs. She left. As we were leaving, getting ready to leave the restaurant, she stopped me. I turned around and she was crying. And she's like, "Thank you. Thank you. Yes. My grandmother just passed away like 3 or 4 weeks ago." And I don't know what happened. Whether she went back to school or whatnot, but it was confirmed that her grandmother was quite adamant on her finishing up school and for her to go back and get her degrees, get her work done, stuff like that. And I feel moments like that. That's not random. That is not a random thing. When you look at, okay, I'm an American. I'm in Shanghai, in the middle of one of the largest cities in the world, and give a message from spirit to the living to an individual. They receive it and do whatever they want with it. Let's just say she does go back to school. But what if I wasn't there? What if I never did deliver that message? What if I held that back? I could have changed the life of an individual. You could be somewhere else. You don't know. That that is I feel that's a very divine message that you change someone's life for the better. And I feel that all of us as human beings, whether you're a medium or not, we all have that inherent intuitive side. If we ask somebody, like someone who's not intuitive or doesn't recognize it, a skeptic on it, if someone always has that intuitive side, we give somebody, like, I believe you should do this because I feel you should do this. This is what I'm getting. That's a divine message. That's an intuitive or higher self message. Those are not random. Spirit is with us all the time. Well, not all the time, but most of the time when we need it. And we're all helping each other. And yeah, we're all helping each other move through this path, move through this ether, this field that we call life or the third dimension. And yeah, that's the only time that particular thing has happened. But if it's needed, if the universe needs it, there's an angel up there, if there's some spirit up there, ancestors from with somebody that needs somebody to deliver something, it'll happen. It'll
Mm,
happen.
mm.
Yeah.
And so then what happened? What's the next part?
The next part is finished up my Shanghai project, came back to the States, and I'm sitting back. I'm realizing, God, man, I got back with the church and I started working with the church again. My teacher, actually, yeah, it was shortly after that. The Reverend, I'll mention his name in honor of his name, Reverend Reverend Ben Cox. He was a great teacher. His health kind of declined, and he had passed. And even still today, kind of throws some hints out there and some assists and stuff. And he was the pastor of the church at the time, and I was working on all kinds of different spiritualist stuff and got involved with a local spiritualist community a little bit more than I was before I had left. And they were looking for a pastor for the church. So I came in as the interim pastor for the Chapel of Spiritual Light here in Orlando. And I was the pastor for about 8 months until life does its thing, work changes, and I had to step aside. And then I kept getting asked, what was it? It was then COVID happened, then the lockdown happened, life happened. Everybody thinks and COVID, the whole lockdown, that worldwide lockdown, I think that was a global midlife crisis because a lot of people found something. They either lost something or they found something
Mm-hmm.
spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I didn't do it during that. Probably because I was too busy connecting with friends, connecting with other things. But shortly after COVID, Spirit then again comes in and says, you need to relaunch your radio show. I'm like, all right, relaunch. And doing the research, I was like, podcast. I think I need to do a podcast. Yeah, let's do a podcast. Around the end of 2022, 2021 actually, is when I started putting stuff together. And then almost overnight, lack of a better word, I think over one particular weekend, I started building the website, getting all the social media together, starting to research, okay, how am I going to do this podcast? But yeah, it evolved. When, as you see it today, look at the first show or listen to the first, actually, it's more visual. You can see how it's evolved. But Spirit was like, you need to build this community. It's more of building a community than just doing a show.
Okay.
And getting all of the spiritualists and practitioners and everybody of the highest frequency out there on this planet that's dwelling here in the third dimension, going into the fourth dimension, get everybody together and build this community to help assist raise the vibration of our planet, help raise the vibration of those that need it. Everybody needs it. And be that muse, be that help that people need from those that might be, I wouldn't say suffering, but lack of a better word, suffering from either alcohol abuse, midlife crisis, health problems, somebody who just wants to look at a holistic way of doing things rather than depending on establishment to help us heal physically, mentally, spiritually. Essentially is what the program ended up being and is today. And then now I've been working with other podcasters, other spiritualists, and getting involved in the more of the spiritual aspect. And for those who are going to be seeing this show, there's probably some people thinking, man, why is the energy out there? It just feels wrong. What is going on? What is happening? It's like this, like a spiritual attack. Bad energy is happening. Why? What is happening? So I also got involved with the Sacred Order of Saint Michael the Archangel and became part of their clergy over the last several months, which is also the body that is the Order of Exorcists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of part of the Catholic Church, more or less part of the Catholic Church. And it's an actual order of exorcists where we have clergy, bishops, archbishops, that have they're never going to retire. They're just going to do their thing and kind of consult people. And they've been building a body of investigators to go and do demonic profiling and consult individuals that claim, hey, I think I'm being possessed or oppressed or whatnot. And that body goes out and takes the cases and does the investigations at a clinical level, either at a clinical level, medical level, psychiatric level, very scientific, very by the book, because we don't want to do any investigations to somebody who's going through like alcohol abuse. And we pick up all those things. We investigate all that to see how legitimate it is. Are they just think they got a possession, or is there some sort of psychosis involved? We kind of work with individuals all, and it's global. It's not just here in the States. It's a global thing. So there's bishops, hundreds if not at least 1,000 or so clergy members all over the globe that are on standby to assist for those who might think that they're being spiritually attacked.
Mm-hmm.
So I assist with that, or and an affiliate to, in case something happens. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So you had one of the members on your podcast, I think.
Yeah. Archbishop Ronald Fell Enright. He's been on the show actually twice. Yeah. And I think it's interesting too. I think he was referred to me by a publicist up in New York City here in the States. And then one morning going into work, I normally listen to this AM radio show called Coast to Coast. And I heard him on the show. I'm like, whoa, okay. Talking about exorcism. And then about a month or so later, he decided to get on the show again. And we started talking a little bit more and getting a little bit more in depth on how the power of intent plays a very big role into the sacred craft of exorcism. What people think exorcism is just exorcising a demon or something like that. It's not all just that. We talk about what actually happens to the exorcist, what happens to the clergy that might be in the room, what happens to the individual that's being exorcised, what's actually going on. And I kind of got, whoa. Now, I've done a few exorcisms before, but not at that extent, not at that type of craft. This is that's another can of worms to open up. That might be another show. The exorcisms I've done beforehand were more of attachments, spiritual attachments, bad energy, and just cleansing and getting rid of the bad energy.
Mm-hmm.
And house blessings, getting rid of the entities that are attached to those things that mean ill will and getting rid of them, letting them move on. Go ahead, go see the light, go, you're not welcome, and go on. Those are also exorcisms, but not, when we say exorcism, people think of the movie The Exorcist and what Hollywood talks about. It's nothing like that, of what the Archbishop had explained. Nothing at all like that. There's a lot of things you just get. Movie industry cannot show that on film. Not only that, I don't think they're allowed. Because that would be too scary. I don't think anybody would watch a movie like that if you could emulate those things on film. But yeah, it was when I felt there was a connection, because like I said, when random things like this happen in somebody's life, when you get certain guests on your show and you establish a connection, you establish this bond, this business relationship and professional relationship, you start to realize where this path is going, what's actually happening. Like I tell people, don't rush things. If you have and you want to do something, don't rush it. Don't rush it, because it's the journey that you learn from to help you get to whatever it is. There's no real destination in life. There is real no destination. It's the journey. And like I'm saying, and it goes back to that original question is I don't think there really is any end result. So I'm still on that path. Where I'm
Mm.
going, how I'm going, where I am on that path, I really don't know. And as long as the community that I've built or starting continuing to build helps somebody, then the mission has been met. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
I can see quite clearly how the exorcism and the investigative side of that links very well back with your paranormal investigating side of things. So that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
And while you've been doing the podcast and meeting everybody on the podcast and working with various different people, are you feeling more like yourself, so to speak? Are you feeling more, yeah, this is feeling like the way that it should be going? I feel good about it. I feel less confused. I feel interested and excited rather than uncertain and
Yeah, I feel there's other aspects too. There's other things within what I'm doing too. It feels, man, there's something else missing. There's something else that I gotta do. But spirit keeps telling me, it's not time yet. It's not time for that next door to open. Continue, stay in this room for a little bit and look at everything that's in this room right now, and then I'll open up the next door, whatever that
yeah,
next stage is. And sometimes things happen s so immediate. A lot of things recently have been coming in through dreams. Either
mm,
dreams, but I'm definitely in the theta brainwave state, within that wake sleep state, and something will come to me. I'm tossing and I'm turning, and then spirits tell me, "You gotta do this, you gotta do this," and I can see me actually doing this particular thing with the show, with the podcast, and I gotta change this artwork to this artwork, or I gotta add this or subtract that, and I'm seeing this whole process, and then I wake up, I'm like, "Okay," and then I attack it. I go and get the job done. It's almost like it's just like giving me all these very specific things to do,
very
and then
specific.
yeah, and then you go do them, and then you sit back, "Oh, okay. Now what's the next what's the next thing on the list?"
Yeah, that's interesting
Um,
because most people, their dreams are the subconscious mind processing emotions, trauma, lifetimes, symbology. It's encoded, whereas
yeah,
that's the most literal I've ever heard.
yeah, yeah. And then spirit has, aside from just my mission and general work, even some stuff in daily life, just daily, regular life type stuff. And I'll get, I'll get these signs, these hints, and like a few years back, as an example, a few years back, it was before a hurricane had come and hit Florida. I think it was Hurricane Ian, which is about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little more than that. But I had these 2 big oak trees in my yard, and doing stuff around it, and then this spirit comes in. He's like, "You need now. You need to now, right now, you or very soon, get these trees trimmed ASAP now." Spirit's like, "Do it. Don't mess around. You got to get it done now." And I'm like, "Okay." And almost immediately, I came back into the house and I started going through. There's a thing called Angie. At the time, there was a thing called Angie's List, and it was basically you sign up and you put in what type of service you want, and then it will give you contractors or people that do that work. I did that. I got a bid from 3 different businesses. I picked one, and they came and did the trees. And literally, like within 2 or 3 days after they were done with the trees, the hurricane hit,
Right. Yeah.
and nothing happened. But Spirit was like, "See, you won't know what would have happened if I didn't." But they were like, "Yeah, something would have happened." But I
You know,
wasn't gonna take the chance to find out what. But,
yeah, yeah. So you're excellent at following that instruction and instinct, whereas a lot of people, as they are unfolding their journey, they doubt
mhm,
or their trust, or they're not getting the message clearly.
yeah. And I feel as sticking with the topic or within the subject that we are when it comes to, like, midlife crisis is I feel that a midlife crisis is a is that signpost in our life to wake up, get more connected with get more grounded and get more connected with your spirituality, with yourself, with your higher self, with the community, with things that actually truly matter within your life.
Mm,
And but depending on the individual's life, lifestyle, work, anything is to start asking those questions. It's like, where am I going? This is that fork in the road. And I think that's what the midlife crisis is. It's that metaphysical universal fork in the road where you either have 2 directions, 3 directions, multiple directions, but it's that pivotal moment where it's like, where am I going?
mm,
Because we're lost. Most people, it's when you ask people what is the definition of midlife crisis, I think it's lost. People just feel lost.
mm,
So much things going on at one time that they can't keep up with it emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that it's a time to stop and listen and ask those questions to the universe. Because believe me, you're going to get the answer. It's
mm.
just whether you're ready for it or not.
Yep, and I think you've just summed it up nicely what I was going to ask you, but is there anything that you would recommend or any words of encouragement for somebody who is going through the big questioning at the moment? They're afraid of the questions that they're asking themselves. They're afraid of losing their what will probably soon be their previous identity, their previous vocation, their previous friendships, their previous marriage. They're in birthing the new them.
Yeah. It's inevitable that nothing is static in the universe. Everything moves, everything is in motion, and change is inevitable. It's inevitable. It nothing lasts forever. especially within this material world. We have to understand that. It's almost like it's almost, and I tell people too that this is also a part of it, is getting to understand our own mortality. And I think ultimately that's what it's about. It's understanding that we are eternal beings in a material world, that there is some sort of an end, but it's not the end to our spiritual life. It's a journey. Focus on the journey. Focus on the journey. Focus on the here now. What is happening now? This now thing. Don't worry about the past or the future. It's a part of that story, but what's happening now is the most important thing. And getting connected with our spiritual self is turning on that radar, is turning on that GPS, because our spiritual self or higher self is that GPS. It's keeping us on that little path and stuff. And depending on where we are in that midlife crisis, it and that's the thing, is a midlife crisis can be an event. It can be a very particular event, or it could just be a plethora of different things happening at the same time. Just now, for instance, something that came to mind before we did recording, or as we were starting to go into this, was I think one of the common midlife crisis is when if we haven't already, when we lose our parents. In this lifetime, when we lose our parents, we lose part of us.
Mm.
Literally, we lose part of us. Or a child. When a parent loses a child or a parent and stuff like that, that is the biggest pivotal point. That's when we change. There's a part of us that does truly change when we lose a parent.
Mm.
Or a sibling, but especially a parent. It's whoa. And trying to get connected with the higher self in the universe. That's when we wake up. I think that's when we wake up, because we also face our own mortality at that point in time. We step back and go, what's the meaning of all this? Why? What? Yeah, it could be one of the saddest moments of your entire life. But then there are times too where I think about it too, and it hasn't yet happened. I lost my father years ago. My mother's still alive. But I keep telling myself, what's going to happen when that happens? What should I prepare now? No. We always dwell on it. We always think about it here and there, but we don't want to admit to it. But it's not about preparing for it. It's not preparing for that emotional sabotage, that emotional hit. It's about taking advantage of the time now with those loved ones it's an event where none of us are going to get out of this alive. So it's an inevitable fact. It's going to happen. So don't worry about the preparation of it. Worry about the now. Take advantage of the time that's available now, because when it does happen, you are going to regret it. And yeah, but I feel that can be a factor into midlife crises, is losing somebody very important to us. And nothing wrong with preparation. And my dad always told me, he's like, expect the best, but prepare for the worst. We can prepare for it, but don't worry about prepare for the materialistic type stuff, like wills and testaments and and legally where everything's going to go and stuff like that. But as far as the emotional and spiritual stuff, believe me, that's what us mediums are for. We're here to help those give messages from spirits who have recently passed or have passed a long time ago to give messages. But they're always around us. They're actually more alive now after they've passed than they were here in spirit, because they're no longer connected to the ego self with when they were here in body.
Thank you. That's, I think, a lot of things for people to think about. And I think that you're correct. You can never prepare for the passing, really, truly. You think you can, but you can't. You just have to
Yeah.
deal with it and be in that moment. And yes, just follow those urges. There's a lot there for people to reflect on. And you've got, what is it? How many? You're up to 140 or more episodes on your podcast?
I think so. I think I'm up to, there's a lot more on the YouTube channel. There's 200 and some odd videos, but most of them are quick blog spots that I did when I first started the show. Yeah, I think, where is it? I think it's about 160 that haven't aired yet. Right now, everything that's been plugged for between now and the rest of the year is 160 episodes. But yeah, I got about 150, 140 some episodes that are on the podcast. So.
Yep. So, there's a lot of questions that can be answered there. That people
Lots.
can go and use it as a resource. And I think that's both what you and I are both doing is it's a resource, basically. Mine's a fairly specific resource at looking at the mind as we take it back to other lifetimes and showing you proof of that with the odd interview in there. But you're like a resource of all different approaches and methods of all things to do with the metaphysical and spiritual and the paranormal world. So if you've got a question, go have a look on Conscious Radio Network. There's sure to be a guest or an episode that's going to help you explore or answer some of those questions. So thank you so much for coming on to the podcast this morning for you, very early in the morning.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time and thank you for helping us out, answer some questions for our listeners.
You're very, very welcome and honored to be part of your show too. Namaste, my friend.
Thank you. Namaste.